Hello there, it's Josh here from Racing to Profit. I hope you can hear me and possibly see me in the bottom right hand corner. Only briefly, I'm going to take a look at the 255 from Haydock. Try and keep this to kind of a 10-15 minute preview if I can. I'll attempt to say something interesting, talk through a few of the horses, hopefully give you some ideas, or you might spot something which helps you land on the winner. With that said, let me open up the screen and get rid of my face in the bottom right hand corner. First things first, where am I going to jump over to my blog, where in the weekly members post, where I normally take a look at two or three big handicaps, well, normally around two, there's three this week, on the flat until the winter jumps kind of kicks in. So a few more Saturdays left, maybe four or five of flat racing before I switch attention to the jumping game fully. As you can see in front of you, there is the 255 from Haydock. There wasn't much from my trends and stats list on this occasion. There's some kind of positive pointers for those that ran over 1 mile 6 or short the last time out, and you can see the 6 there that did so. The little red H3 and H4 indicate they're in horse race base. Global Storm 3rd rated and Noble Masquerade 4th rated. Within the race, so just a little guide. Still 10 to 14. Not quite sure on the logic on that, but in the last 11 renewals or so has been a sweet spot. And you can see the 3 horses listed there. And as important, the trainers. So these are horses representing trainers that have won the race previously, and obviously with said runners, as you can see in front of you. The trends shortlisting approach and the trainers approach, normally combined, helps land on the winner or some big price place horses. So never a bad starting point to kind of have a flick through if you like that kind of approach and applying stats and trends and trainer behavior and trainer records. Obviously it makes sense that if a trainer's won the race before, A, they know the type that's needed to win the race again, and B, it's not impossible said horse has been aimed at the race. With that said, let's jump over to the 255 from Haydock. As ever, I'm in the incomparable Gigi's Gold and their excellent and superb race cards. What's the first thing I'm going to say here? I'm going to click on Instant Expert first of all. Now, this is just a look at the horse's profile against conditions, which you can see here. Green is normally good. Amber's not too bad. Red means there's work to do. You can see here, this is the ground looks like it'll be as quick as it gets at Haydock. I don't think there's any rain forecast. Good to firm, class 2, it's 1 mile 6. 12 to 15 runners, of course. Some horses need a big field to perform their best. Some do better in small fields for various reasons. This is all form across all kind of flat codes, including all weather, and that's the winning record, which you can see there. So you may want to note down something, you may not. If I click on the place, we can see there there's kind of some more green. So Global Storm, 4 from 4 on good to firm, class pretty solid, trip pretty solid. All right, Sunshine's placed at the track. That's never a bad thing. Hotfeld, I can click here and I can have a look at said runs at Haydock, always with Haydock. There's a question that the ground can be an issue. I'm not sure if this, well, what was I going to say? That record, I don't think suggests he doesn't like Haydock necessarily, and I'll jump on him jump to Hockfeld in a minute. Most of his best form is on good to firm, so you can probably excuse a lot of those soft ground efforts, although some of them not too bad. And within this Instant Expert, I can click and see what some of these numbers mean. You've got rhythmic intent there. Rudzinski, pretty solid, possibly as each way goes in terms of lots of green and amber across the board. 1 mile 6 we can see here, one at Wolves, beaten recently in his more kind of 14 furlong efforts. Again, if you take a closer look at him, you'll see he's mainly been running over kind of 16 furlongs and further. Noble Masquerade has course form here as well, a decent second over 7 furlongs. Weakened over 14 furlongs here in September 2020. Whether or not that's a concern, possibly. What else can we tell from this? So that's all form. If we click on handicaps, and let's just click on flat handicaps, and we will see the record there. That's the place. If I click on the win, Sexton hasn't done too bad. He only ran 2 days ago. I think he's currently about 25 to 1. But you can see there his kind of record on good to firm. Class 2, obviously there's different levels of class 2s. Nicholas T, Hockfeld, as you can see there, had many goes. Some of these horses have a bit to prove in terms of winning record in handicaps at the class, and so on and so forth. And again, those proven over the distance. I can move the distance to 2 miles here. So you can see those that are proven stayers over 1 mile 6 to 2 miles. And you may wish to note those down who has proven handicapping form over that trip. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in terms of proven winning form over 1 mile 6 to 2 miles. Some of them have probably won over further, no doubt, have they? Yeah, Rodzinski, Hockfeld, Island Brave, All Right Sunshine, Global Storm. So they're the proven ones with winning form in handicaps on the turf at 1 mile 6 or further, which you might find useful or not. Then we put this back down to 1 mile 6. And the other thing we can see on the right hand side here is handicap marks. So this is their rating today. Now this is their last winning handicap mark. And you can obviously see the difference here. So Global Storm is £10 above his last winning handicap mark. Now he may be open to masses of improvement, so that's not necessarily a negative, but clearly he does need to improve and show some more given that mark. You've got Sexton, who's £2 below his last winning mark. All Right Sunshine, £2 above. Nicholas T, £7 above. Island Brave, £5 above. Hockfeld, £3 above. Rhythmic Intent, Rodzinski, £3 above. So you could argue that those have something to prove in terms of their handicap mark, and that is a question. That's not to say they can't win from being above their last handicap winning marks. And of course you need to check whether the horse is still open to improvement and is still well, open to improvement generally, and possibly over this kind of extreme distance. This is useful, especially when you're looking at 4-year-old plus handicaps. This instant expert on the flat can come into its own, because obviously there are fewer unexposed kind of younger horses, and you can get a good grip on who's well handicapped, and that's never a bad way in if that's the kind of approach you want to take. The Trader may be interesting, £2 below his last winning mark, so he's well handicapped. As you saw on my blog post a moment ago, Mark Johnson has won this race before, twice actually, so whether or not these two have been aimed at this race may be interesting. Indianapolis, Ian Williams has won this race before. This one is £12 below his last winning handicap mark. That may suggest the horse is regressive. Now, normally trainers would look at the handicap mark of a horse. If they think they've reached their ceiling, they obviously then want to get them down to kind of around or below that last winning handicap mark. Being £12 below may suggest the horse is a bit too regressive and going backwards. It may not, of course. He might be a horse to note. You can take a closer look at him in these race conditions, of course, but he's a well handicapped horse on the turf. Ian Williams is a superb trainer. Will he rediscover the key and his light, or fire, I suppose, for the game, for want of a better phrase, soon enough? So he might be one to keep an eye on from a handicapping perspective. Noble Masquerade, £6 above last winning mark. If you look at his profile, he's a lightly raced 4-year-old and looks to be progressive, but of course he does need to step forward again. So there's a few things of interest there. Obviously you can see winning form on good to firm ground, which is always a positive when it's quick, and again that might lead you to a certain place in terms of some of these horses, or some of the questions that other horses have, which you can see for yourself with your eyes in front of you there. Pace, always important, and this is fascinating. Now I can change this to good to firm to good, just to expand the sample size. Now, as you can see there, it's not impossible to win being held up, so don't be put off if you like the price. It's always harder being held up, in the sense that if there's not much pace in the race on paper, because you need those at the front to go very hard, you need them to stop, you need luck in running, you need to settle if the pace isn't overly quick. Being prominent's a positive. Leading, I mean, there's only 9 in the study period here on this kind of fast ground field size over recent years, but 9 horses have led, 2 of them have won, 4 have placed, and you can see those stats there. what do we have here? Let's sort it by draw, which you can do here. So one is going to be against the inside rail as we look across the track. Being a left-handed course, one is always up against the inside rail. And we are at Haydock. What do we have here? Well, we've got two Mark Johnson horses who are going to go forwards. Hochfeld is going to lead. Is he going to stay there? Possibly, possibly not. You can have a closer look and maybe make that judgment. The trader, he's going to be prominent. I should think he will just sit off Hochfeld. Those two are not going to cut each other's throats, but they may well dictate this race and dictate the pace of this contest. And we know Mark Johnson horses are generally tough. If they get to do their own thing on the front end, that can be dangerous for everything else. Noble Masquerade, Holly-Dor will be aware to that. She will tuck in behind them both, I should think. So those three horses there, if this pace map, and this is based on the horses' last four running styles, is to be believed, that's going to be the setup of the race. And then you've got a fair few held up, or hold up horses, I should say, who may slot in further in behind. Again, you can look through some of those. Plenty of them have form over 2 miles and further. Are they going to go quick enough? If the two Mark Johnson horses dictate and then kick and turn it into a bit of a dash, is that going to find out some of these horses that are a bit more patiently ridden? And are they going to be staying on too late and the bird may have flown with one of these three? Possibly. That's my initial instinct when looking at that pace map. You can need them, like I said. They might go too quick, of course. The horses might not be in form and may fall in a hole. So you've got all those different things to consider, all against price. Every horse has a price, and at value judgment, me personally, if a horse is held up, I always kind of want a slightly bigger price because it is a riskier proposition for some of those reasons I explained earlier. You know, them needing to go a strong pace up front, needing them to come back to them and stop, needing luck in running depending on where you get slot in, where you slot in through the race, and you might get stuck a few off the fence also if you're drawn out wide. So yeah, some interesting points there from the pace perspective, again, which you can ponder and use as you please. Ticking around to 12 minutes. What else should I highlight here? Not necessarily for these horses, but something you might want to note down using these excellent kind of little report angles here. Charlie Appleby, William Buick are in half decent form, 7 from 11, 7 places in the last 14 days. So generally plenty of their runners might be worth a look, not just Global Storm. William Buick rides this place pretty well. 8 from 20, 11 places in the last year. That's not a bad record. You can see, if I click the trainer record here, Charlie Appleby's done well in the last year with his Haydock runners. He does pretty well with his stayers as well. I mean, he's just a superb trainer, isn't he? You know, over the last year, 70% of rivals beaten, which is a pretty decent figure. Anything over 0.5 is good, and the higher the better, up to 1. So 0.7 is pretty much as good as you'd get over a year sample. Excellent trainer that he is. He's got 9 stone 10 on his back. It looks like he may be held up. Why should he better some of these performances? You can see his official rating here. He's posted some Racing Post ratings above that mark, which is always a positive for me. He's currently kind of 7-2, 4-1, I think. I'll leave you to make that judgment whether or not that's a good price or a bad price. If he's held up, and is he open to attack from something better treated, and he's got a lug at 9 stone 10 around? That's my initial thoughts, but the purpose of these videos isn't to put you off a horse. You might think 7-2 is a great price. He may well bolt up and make it look a great price. You can take a closer look, of course. Various other horses. Sextant run 2 days ago. Is he going to be scratched? He is a stayer. He's gone over hurdles before. He's stayed various different trips. But is he going to be a non-runner? He's currently 25-1. Callum Rodriguez rides this place pretty well, and he's riding with confidence and in form also. What else have we got? Jim Goldie's are ticking along okay. 3 from 12, 6 places in the last 14 days. 58% of rivals beaten. When you look at trainer form, you can look at their kind of recent 14, 30 days. Is it above their last 360-day average, which I always view as a positive, both on strike rates, place strike rates, and this percentage of rivals beaten, which I like to use. And on the last 14 days, they're generally running well. The horses are nearer the front of the pack than the back, even if they're finishing unplaced. Island Brave, Heather Main is in form. You can see that. And again, compared to her 365-day stats, percentage of rivals beaten also, has she done winning yet? Some of her runners might be worth a closer look. I'm not sure if she's got anything else this weekend. I suppose I could open this up and have a look. This is one of the benefits. You can click, click, click in Gigi's Gold and find out ridiculous amounts of information at the click of a button. She's got a couple at Newcastle and Kempton. By the time you're watching this video, they may have run, so we'll see if those form figures have been improved. Island Brave on the 4th, and then nothing until the 7th, but you can see those entries there. That's a yard in form, and a small yard in form. They might go under the radar. She's booked Sylvester de Souza. He generally rides Haydock pretty well. This course is sorry, what was I going to say? He looks like a 16 furlong horse. Is Sylvester going to be aggressive if the horse's legs are quick enough, knowing he stays further? He won't want this to turn into a dash. He does arrive in form at least, but he has been outpaced over 16 furlongs the last twice. It's not exactly like he's been ridden by poor jockeys either. Is the horse quick enough? Can SDS stoke him along and get him up there early, because he will be staying on, and he's in decent form, as is his trainer. Hochfeld is interesting. I just wanted to have a look. He's interesting from that pace angle. The fact that MJ has won this race before, he's off 97 here. Now, if I look at all his career wins, he is on a career high mark. So his highest winning mark was 94. That was in April 21. Maybe he's still open to a smidge bit of improvement. You can see those decent RPRs there. Is he best in smaller fields? That's not a shock, given he likes to make all. And that's obviously easier in smaller fields than bigger fields, or can be. I'm not going to say it's impossible that he can't win from a mark of 97. He's probably not had many goes, and at least the mark is coming down a bit. I suppose you've got to ask yourself a question of why would he improve on recent performances from this kind of mark. He is at his best, he's a decent staying handicapper on the flat, and he is going to dictate here, I think. It's just whether that mark is a question. What I did want to highlight from his overall record of 5 from 45, if I click on the going, so he's 3 from 12, 6 places on good to firm. In handicaps, on the flat, as you can see there, at class 2, 2 from 10, 4 places. With Joe Fanning, he hasn't won on him yet. The distance, he's 3 from 9, 4 places over 14 furlongs on good to firm. So these conditions are clearly half decent. So there's a few things there you may wish to note down. He is interesting from that pace perspective. Is his stablemate, the Trader, more interesting because he is now better handicapped? Mark Johnson and Charlie do use jockey stats a fair bit when deciding which jockeys are going to ride their horses at which tracks. It may be significant that they've picked, and this won't have passed them by, the fact that Andrea is 5 from 18, 6 places at the course in the last year, generally rides the place pretty well. He's only 1 from 18, 2 places for the yard. I did find it interesting that Ben Curtis and hold on a second, Franny Norton, sorry, his name had escaped me for a minute. Ben Curtis is at Thirsk, 1 for Mark Johnson and 1 for Said bin Saror, and Franny is at Wolves, 1 for MJ, and he's got a couple for others. I'm not sure if either of those jockeys would have had the choice to ride here. Ben Curtis, well, they've both ridden him in the last 4 times. Maybe the owners have pulled rank and said we want Andrea on board. I'm not sure if he has. No, he's never ridden this horse before. What do I want to point out about him? He's 4 from 23 on the flat. Generally, going, you can click various different things. 2 from 6 on good to firm, which is clearly fine. He won at Hamilton, staying on. He's got to prove himself over this trip. He ties closely in with his stablemate there, Hochfeld. He's probably slightly better treated than him. So will he finish ahead of him on that basis? Although, no, there's not too much between them, actually. And has the ground been an excuse for more recent runs? Good to soft, good to soft, 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 good to soft. I think he may appreciate returning to this good to firm surface. So that might be something worth noting. Yeah, all of his wins. Hamilton was on good to firm. Newmarket was on good, and his two down here were on good to firm and good. So I'm happy saying the ground may be a valid excuse for some of these more blunt efforts recently. And of course, they've got his mark now £2 below that last win. He has won a Class 2 at Newmarket, fairly decent performance as well. So he can race prominently. He does have stamina to prove. That Hamilton stiff 13 furlongs at Hamilton, and he was staying on, so I wouldn't say he won't stay, and he is interesting enough. Both those Mark Johnson horses are around 11, 12 to 1 as I speak, I think. They might be interesting to a point to have a closer inspection of. Wojcinski, he's in form, head-to-head pretty good. Dascombe's in form, obviously generally does well at Haydock. He's booked Richard Kingscote. Again, he's got form over 16 furlongs and further. Is this going to happen a bit too quickly like it did at Newmarket over 13 furlong? That's the question. Can his legs keep up? Is he going to be outsped, outpointed by something else? Possibly, but he is consistent. He does stay. He does have the class. He keeps creeping up in the weights for not winning, which is always annoying if you're connections. But I wouldn't be shocked if he ran his race and that was good enough to put him bang there. Autumn War's a horse arriving in form, but he's up in class. Again, you can take a closer look at that. David Probert's obviously been doing well, and so on and so forth. You take a closer look at these if you so wish. Indianapolis is the one that's fallen down the weights. He's a 6-year-old. They're trying headgear, second run in a visor. Now, second run headgear can work. They're changing the headgear around plenty. He kept on. Does he want further? Let's have a look at some of his profile. I mean, he's been best in proper heavy. Some of his good form's been in a much softer surface, or maybe not as quick as this. They might be hoping for some rain in the weeks ahead. He's going to be very well handicapped if and when it ever clicks again. He's got some decent form down here. He does stay 16 furlongs well. His last win was at Leicester, is that correct? Off 97. That might be worth noting. Will Ian Williams target that race again, which is on the 8th of October? I'm sure that race is probably going to be run again. So that might be a target for what is now a very well handicapped horse, something to keep an eye on if you like notebook horses and jotting down such things. But you can see he's got York form over 16 furlongs. He's a decent horse at his best. Ian Williams has had him since April 21. He will find the key at some point. Not impossible, it's this race, but again, have a look at his profile, and if it's not today in this race, he might be dotting up at some point in the future. Ray Dawson's in form, as you can see there. He rides Haydock pretty well. Jockeys riding with confidence is never a bad thing. There is that headgear switch. I'm not 100% sure if proper fast ground is for him, but I'll leave you to take a closer look. Ian Williams knows what is needed to win this race. Finally, we've got Noble Masquerade. I'm ticking around to 25 minutes. See, this is a short 10 minutes as always. What have we got here? He's unexposed. That's what I was going to say. He is up in class, obviously. He's unexposed over 14 furlongs. He's tried it once as a 3-year-old. Soft ground clearly isn't a problem, I don't think, looking at some of his form. But of course, he's a bit older now, bit bigger, a bit stronger. He stayed on well over 11 furlongs here. That was a small race. It was a Class 4. He got beat in a Class 4 here. Is he open to attack from something with a bit more class or better treated? That was a career best Racing Post rating, which is always a positive. It could be because of his younger legs, and he looks like it's clicked the last 3 runs. He can track that pace, and he's got Holly Doyle on board, and she can kick and be in the perfect spot if the 2 Mark Johnson horses start coming backwards. So, yeah, he's progressive. Whether or not he's progressive enough to take this, well, the race will tell, I suppose. Then you're weighing up all of that against the odds, etc. I think he was around 5s when I had a look. But he is worth a closer look. He will be in the right place. It's just whether this mark and up in grade does for him. But then plenty of these may be outpaced, poorly positioned out the back. The handicapper may be in charge, and he is with a few of them possibly. Got nothing on his back. So that's not impossible. And he was had a little place on this. Well, it's not really a trend, is it? It was just one stats pointer for that list there. So anyway, I think I have been talking for long enough, about 50 minutes more than planned. But and that's a kind of quick, rushed overview without going through in depth every horse with a fine tooth comb, which I will leave you to do. Hopefully, I have said something interesting, relevant to this race, but also with some of those trainer stats, pointers, some musings on the Mark Johnson jockeys, and something, maybe some other information there that you can take away, note down, and use for some other punting on Saturday or in the next few days. Indianapolis, a very well handicapped horse. Just a question of what are the conditions and when does Ian Williams get the keys. He's only 6 and he stays well. He's one for the notebook. And maybe take a close look for him for this race as well. And I touched on the pace and various other different things also, didn't I? So hopefully, yes, you'll use some of that to help you land on the winner. As yet, I don't know what I'm going to back. I probably will find it hard to resist a little nibble on the trader at a double figure price, a smaller nibble on Hockfield. I kind of think the handicap has probably got him and he wants a smaller field. I think the trader might run an okay race here, 28 days off. It may well have been a little bit of a plan and they'll be pleased the rain hasn't come. But that's a very brief look, as I said. So with that said, I will be quiet. I'm off to Newquay on Saturday, 4 a.m, away for a week, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll still be doing some blogging for my good members. But you enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the next week to come. I think there might be some sunshine about, which would be pleasant. There I am, back again. So yeah, a week away in Newquay, which should be fun. And enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week ahead. And if you back anything in the Old Borough Cup handicap from Haydock, best of luck and happy punting. And until the next time, this is Josh saying thanks for watching. Bye for now and speak soon.